Good afternoon, guys. Today we're going to talk about preserving food, and we're going to specifically focus on parched corn. Corn's something that throughout the summer months here in the eastern woodlands is readily available, but then when the wintertime comes around, if you don't know how to preserve that food, you're not going to have it. So that's what we're going to explore today in this episode. Stay tuned. So parched corn it's a quite simple process to make, and it's my preferred method when I think about coming out into the wilderness and coming out into the woods and preserving food for the long term. And the reason that is canned food is good, but it's heavy. It's hard to carry around. And taking fresh corn, such as sweet corn, and jarring it in mason jars, that becomes tiresome because, again, it's heavy and you always have the possibility of glass breaking. Parched corn, on the other hand, as you're going to see, it's lightweight, it's very packable, and there's a lot of options available that you can use it for. You can grind it down and make cornmeal, you can eat it plain, you can add it to soups or stews, anything like that. And the list of things just goes on and on and on with parched corn. Now you could do this with peas also. I did that with some success, but we're going to focus today basically on just the parched corn. So what I've done is I have my backpack filled up with corn. I took sweet corn a few months ago and I just left it right on the cob and I placed it out. You want to put it in a cool, dry place and just let it dry. If you let it in an area that is hot and cold, too much sunlight, then dark, you're going to get some mold on your corn. So if you do, you're going to have to get rid of that. But if you put it in a pretty consistent temperature place, it's going to get real nice and dried out. Now, how do you know when it's ready? Because there's going to be moisture in the corn, and it takes a good amount of time to dry that out. When you work your fingers on it, it should just flake right off the cob. And that's what we're looking for. So what I'm going to do now is I have my backpack filled up with some of the corn that I've been drying out over the last, I'm going to say, month and a half possibly. I'm going to get all this off the cob, we'll get a good pile, and then we're going to talk about how we're actually going to parch this corn. Okay guys, so here's the corn that I have taken off the cob. You can see there's a pretty good amount here. And what else you're going to need for this project is a cast iron pan or something similar to that. I'm using cast iron today, as you're going to see shortly. And when you're done, something to put your corn in. So I just have a linen bag that I sewed together. Not too big, but this is where I'm going to store my corn. And you don't need, when you're actually done parching this, you don't want to put this in any type of Ziploc bag or plastic bag, because you don't want, if there's moisture there, any mold to form. So you want it to be able to breathe. So a bag like this would work perfect. And then what I did was I took some tallow that I had, and I'm going to actually use that because you need some type of oil. So I'm going to use tallow. I did bring out some vegetable oil because that is an option, so you can use that if you don't have any tallow or lard or anything like that available. And you really don't need a lot of this, just enough to cover the bottom of your pan, which I'm going to show shortly. So I'm going to get the camera repositioned, and I'm going to show you how we're going to start to parch this corn. It's a pretty long process, so it takes a little bit of time. You got to put some energy and effort into it. But once it's done, it's definitely worth it. So I'm going to get the camera repositioned, and we'll start working on this corn. Okay guys, so I have just a very small fire built for this. And what I've done with this fire pit was I made some rocks, almost like a keyhole fire pit, so I can drag embers back so I can cook. I have a small grate, and then I have my cast iron frying pan already heating up. I have some embers underneath it. So like I said, it's a straightforward process to do this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of this tallow that I have. I'm actually going to grab a stick here to get some of this out. I'm going to take a little bit of this tallow, maybe about a tablespoon, just enough to get the bottom of my pan covered. Now if it looks like the pan is under big flames, it's not. That fire is just in front of where I'm cooking. So just enough to get some oil on the bottom. And like I said, this pan's already preheated. I had some embers underneath it. So I just want to get that good and spread around here. In the bottom of my pan. Okay, so as that's heating, you don't want to overcook your corn, but you want to make it golden brown. And you'll see as it begins to cook, you're going to start to get a nice brown color to it. And once all of it gets brown, you don't want it to get to the point that it's starting to crumble away or almost pop. You want to just get it nice and brown, and then you can take it off and put your next batch on. So we'll start with a little bit of this. And I'm going to just keep adding this in as I go here. I have probably close to 2 pounds there, a little bit more. I still have some more corn put back that I didn't shuck yet. I didn't want to have it all laying in the dirt. So I'm just going to cover the bottom of my pan. And I'm going to let that just start to cook. I'll get some close-ups of that, and you'll hear it once it starts to cook and brown up. Okay guys, so this is our 3rd batch we're on, and as you can see, you've got to keep mixing it. You can even give it a good shake once in a while, and as you can see, some of this stuff's starting to brown up already, and once it starts to go, it's going to go pretty quick. So you don't want to overcook it, you just want to get it nice and browned. So you want to keep that moving. If it seems like it's starting to burn a little bit, get it right off the fire. And like I said, this keyhole works great right here, how we have this set up, just to get that in. So this batch is about done. As you can see, it's browned up, and I'm actually going to get it out of there sooner than later, just because that cast iron's holding a lot of heat. So that's what we want. Okay guys, so that's how you make parched corn. Dry your corn, a little bit of oil in a pan, and cook it till it's golden brown. My last batch, I cooked around, I think it was 6 or 7 batches I did, and it started going pretty quick once that cast iron got good and hot. My last batch I just have laid out here, it's still cooling, and the rest of what I cooked I have in my linen bag. So basically, to store this, like I said, you don't want to store it in a plastic bag. I'm just going to keep it in here, tie it off, and then I can carry this along with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Until the next one, thank you guys.